So we got some pretty awesome news for you guys, including the release of the MMORPG Skyforge for the Nintendo Switch, a mass outcry against CD Projekt Red, and the unfortunate end of the much beloved Dulfy.net.
Why are you crying?
Hello everyone, my name is Solomon SK for Coffee and RPGs, where we cover the latest news trends and updates for the MMO and RPG gaming genre. If you're new to the channel, I really hope that I can earn your subscription in today's video. I'm trying to get partnered with YouTube, but that requires me to get 600 more subscribers, so any help is definitely appreciated. But anyways, everyone, if you'd like to join me with your beverage of choice, let's go over these news articles together. Cheers to you guys. Alright everyone, so let's go ahead and get started with a few articles from MassivelyOP.com. And the first article here says that Guild Wars 2 preps tournament week while community website Dulfy.net disappears. But I was thinking, oh okay, so maybe these two things are tied together and the Guild Wars 2 aspect of the site has been taken down because maybe it's not getting enough traction, nobody contributes anymore. But unfortunately that's not the case, it's the entire site. As you can see here, if you type in Dulfy.net and try to enter, it says the site can't be reached. For those of us who grew up playing MMOs since the early 2000s, Dulfy.net has been a site that contributed lots, especially when it came to guides and just knowing how to play a game for various MMORPGs out there, including World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, Star Wars, The Old Republic, and whatnot. But yeah, you know, I haven't really visited the site, in a really long time, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate everything that she's done for the community. I was reading through the comments and this one individual here did say that she was facing some sort of health problems. Again, I don't know how true this is, so definitely take it with a grain of salt, but it's still within the realm of possibilities. I do apologize if you were expecting me to talk about Guild Wars 2. I just thought the site going down was just a much bigger news article here. I mean, they do say that they're holding a week-long series of PvP tournaments in the game if you're interested in that kind of thing. In the slight chance that you are watching this, Dulfy, I really do appreciate everything that you've done over the decades for the community and providing a resource that allows us to become more better players and more informed players over the years. And so yeah, I don't know what you're going through, but whichever the case, again, my thoughts and my prayers are definitely with you. And yeah, whatever you do in your future endeavors, I hope you are successful at it, and hopefully we get to hear from you soon. So cheers to you, Dulfy, really appreciate it. And in their next article, Perfect World Entertainment is delaying Magic Legends launch to spring of 2021. And this is something that I completely forgot about, honestly, but Magic Legends is no longer an MMO. Rather, it's going to be a RPG with co-op elements to it as well. So, I mean, you'll still be able to get to play with your friends, but just not on a massive scale as it was originally intended. But the article does continue on to say that the executive producer Steve Ricosa, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that name, said that the feedback the company received from the last two closed alpha tests with over 60,000 players is the primary reason why of this decision. Honestly though, with all the games that we are getting at the end of this year, I don't mind delays at all. There's just too many games to play, too many games to cover for the channel and whatnot, so if I could kind of space myself a little bit more with these delays, I'm okay with it. But I don't know if that's necessarily such a selfish thing to say, but I apologize if it is.
$5 a month.
And really quick from their next article, City of Heroes Homecoming previews page 6 content, preps for Halloween, and shares the cost of operations. And that is what makes me very interested in this article. I wouldn't consider myself that tech savvy. I mean, I did build my own computer, which I'm using right now, but when it comes to servers and all that kind of stuff, SQL, I mean, that's way above my head. But if you go ahead and click on the link provided by the article and go on over to the main webpage, it says total monthly cost just over $4,500, and that to me is pretty crazy. They go over the various costs of separate things such as dedicated servers, SQL server licenses, failover IP address blocks, map hosts, and all that stuff. Again, don't know any of that kind of thing, but just the fact that people are able to set this up out of pocket, because again, one of the things that you cannot do with rogue servers is make a profit because they are using an IP that does not belong to them. I don't know if they could set themselves up to be a non-profit, but again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not exactly sure how that conflicts with the actual IP and the companies that own them and whatnot. But yeah, almost $4,700 a month just to upkeep the servers that everybody enjoys playing.
Amazing!
And in their next article, Phantasy Star Online 2's Episode 5 launches tomorrow with new hero classes, level cap, bump, and raids as well. This article was written yesterday, so chances are it's already out by the time this video drops. But again, it does go on to say that the episode is expected to drop new hero classes, bump in the level cap to level 90, new arcs, missions, plus new loot events and enemies as well. But the newest addition to this update is something called Buster Quests, and it goes on to read that they are similar to raids, but also feature base defense elements. Players will need to work together in two alternating phases, one where you have to gather and protect resources in defense phase, and then empower siege weapons to destroy the enemy castle on the other side. When I read this, it kind of reminds me of the Horde mode in Gears of War, more or less, except for that last part right there, so it'd be pretty interesting. I definitely would have to check that out if that's the case. Next, let's go ahead and cover some of the articles from MMORPG.com, and the first one here says that Eve Echoes crosses 2 million players, Japanese localization arriving to Eve Online. So I think that's really cool. The Eve Online game itself on the PC version will get a flood of new players, hopefully, now that it is being released in the Japanese market. But the fact that Eve Echoes has 2 million players now, and although I don't really believe that's concurrent players, that's still a pretty impressive number regardless. But really quick, if you don't know anything about Eve Echoes, it is a Eve game but for the mobile platform, but unfortunately it's also a separate game entirely, so there's no cross-platform play, and it's actually set in a different universe as well with different storylines. And in their next article, it says that Black Desert confirms playability on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, but there is a slight caveat to that though. For the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, it's able to accomplish this due to the fact that the system has an inherent backwards compatibility. So you don't have to repurchase the game or anything like that, you could just jump right straight into it without an additional cost. But unfortunately, the PlayStation 5 version, there's some kinks in it, unfortunately. They do go on to say that Pearl Abyss could not determine if that would be the case, but informed PlayStation 5 gamers that Sony is working hard to make sure that the game will be playable on the new console right out of the box. So play the PC version, I'd always say. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Moving on.
Never gonna give you never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down.
And in their next article, Skyforge headed to the Nintendo Switch this fall. The free-to-play title will bring vast content and optional invasion pass along with it, though no specific release date has yet been given. And if you don't know anything about Skyforge, it is being described as a sci-fi MMORPG that was released back in 2017. This game actually doesn't get talked about a whole lot, unfortunately, compared to some of the other MMORPGs out there in the market. Even if you do plan on playing this game for the Nintendo Switch, I'd still recommend checking out its Steam page to kind of give you an idea of what to expect. And unfortunately, it is sitting at a mixed review for both recent reviews and all reviews, but then again, I guess it could be worse. Next, we'll go ahead and cover some of the articles from Gematsu.com, and if you let me indulge just a little bit, this game really isn't an MMO or an RPG, but I'm a huge Mecha fan, so that's why I wanted to cover it. And it goes on to say that Hardcore Mecha Gurren Lagann DLC launches today. If you look at the way it plays, you could probably argue that it does have some RPG elements to it, although in the Steam page it actually doesn't use the tag at all. But one of the biggest reasons why I'm really interested in this game is that you kind of get that 90s, early 2000s Robotech sort of mecha nostalgia feeling. A lot of the designs definitely are inspired by certain Gundams. And in their next article, and this is for all the JRPG fans out there, specifically Trials of Mana, Square Enix will release version 1.1.0 update for Trials of Mana on October 14th, which adds the no future and very hard difficulty settings. And if you don't know anything about this particular JRPG, that screenshot right there kind of gives you an idea of what it's about.
You are my best wife. What? No. You are my best friends. Are you okay? そう was your best friends. No wife.
And next we are talking about Godfall, and they released a new cinematic intro trailer yesterday. And in case you don't know anything about this game, it is being described as a looter shooter, but in this case a looter slasher because of its gameplay. But what sets this particular looter shooter from the other ones out there in the market, such as Destiny, Borderlands, Anthem, The Division, and all those other titles, is that this particular one won't have a cash shop. One of the sort of more general controversies from this year is the hike in terms of the price for video games from $60 to $70, and we are already seeing it here as the PlayStation 5 version of the game will cost $70 instead of the standard $60, and this is just for the standard edition too, not the deluxe or the collector's edition or anything like that. So in my channel analytics, it gives me sort of the demographic of the type of people who watches my content, and I know a lot of you grew up during the 90s, and you actually might enjoy this. This is definitely for somebody who grew up during the NES and Super NES days, and you played such titles as The Legend of Zelda and the old school Yeast game. Yeast? Wow.
My brain's broken. My brain's broken!
The old school Yeast games as well. This next article does go on to say that 2D open world RPG Ninth Dawn 3 Shadow of Erthil launches October 6th for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, iOS, and the Android as well. And as always, I have the trailer playing right now, and yeah, I can't help but feel being transported back to the 90s, but with a bit of a modern twist as well. It's also being described as a collectathon game. There's also 1,400 uniquely drawn items to collect, including more than 300 weapons and 550 armor types and accessories as well. Another game I should probably add on to that list just from that fact alone is Suikoden. I'll have a link to their Steam page down in the pinned comment section below if you're curious to take a closer look. So I typically shy away from being a drama channel more or less, but I think something like this is definitely worth mentioning and covering, considering it does pertain to the MMO and RPG genre. But in their next article, or rather in the new website here from allchar.com, in their article it says that Cyberpunk 2077 team will be well compensated and get 10% of CD Projekt Red's 2020 profits. I'm pretty sure you heard about this now because you could get this kind of article throughout any various news or gaming news outlets right now. It just seems to be everywhere, unfortunately, at the moment. And I say unfortunately because, again, this is just more bad news that a lot of people are saying, and it involves a promise that CD Projekt Red wouldn't overwork their employees, especially before the release of the game, but it seems like they went back on that promise, and a lot of the employees are going to have 6-day work weeks with a lot of crunch time, unfortunately. And then a lot of people are saying this is why the industry needs to unionize and whatnot, and it could definitely get political, and a lot of people seem to be upset, especially since that the standard that CD Projekt Red has is so far above every other company out there, including EA and Activision and the rest of the likes. At least in this case, again, I don't know how much 10% of CD Projekt's 2020 profits look like right now, but considering the pre-orders for Cyberpunk 2077 alone is just through the roof, probably the most right now out of any game, if not one of the most anticipated and pre-ordered games that we have right now in the market, it's still within the realm of possibilities that even 10% is a huge chunk of change for the employees themselves. So at least at the end of the day, they are giving compensation, unlike some of the other companies. And in their next article, Starfield is targeting a 2021 release window, leaker claims. So we did go over some of the leaks from the last episode where we got 3 images, again, supposedly from the Starfield game itself in its early stages back in 2018, I believe it says. Yeah, back in a build of 2018. But the same leaker also said that Bethesda is looking for a 2021 release window, but definitely, again, take these with a grain of salt because nothing is substantiated. And next we got a few articles from PCGamer.com, and the first one here says that Wasteland studio Inxile Entertainment has 2 new RPGs in the works. Unfortunately, we actually don't have any information about what those RPGs are or what it looks like, but it's safe to assume that one of those RPGs may actually have a lot of influences from the Wasteland series. And if you don't know anything about Wasteland, it actually came out not too long ago on August 27th. And with just over 4,000 reviews, it's sitting at a very positive review score. And this game particularly catered towards all the strategy turn-based co-op RPG fans out there. So definitely give it a try if this is something that floats your boat. I really hope that I've earned your subscription description in today's episode of MMO and RPG updates. If you feel as though you have received a lot of information in the content that I produce, I would massively appreciate it if you return the favor by hitting the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification icon right next to it. I know that was a lot of news articles, so I will finally let you guys go. I hope you guys have a blessed night, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers again, everyone.